Welcome. This podcast is an exploration into being human and what's possible when there's less attention on the noise in our heads. Warning. While listening to this broadcast, you may experience moments of deep peace, sighs of relief, personal insights, or long stretches of dead air. Do not be afraid. This is normal. Under the Noise with Wyn Morgan and Kate Roberts.
Welcome to this week's Under the Noise with me, Wyn Morgan, and...
I'm Kate Roberts.
Hi, Kate. So, Kate, you've had a busy few weeks, to say the least. Share what you've been up to.
Only moving and renovating and starting a new business in a short time. So it's been full. It's been really full. And I was kind of catching you up on what that feels like right now. And so for those listening, we decided to chit chat about action and effort and the relationship between the two, if there is any. And I think what it's felt like lately is a lot of action, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no quiet in it. I don't think it has to be one or the other. But I do think that there are times when it feels out of balance. And that's okay too. I think that's part of life and movement. And so maybe it's sometimes just noticing when it's out of balance that brings back the balance. I don't know. This is still kind of active for me right now. But it's an interesting thing, to chat about with you, especially about noise and effort with a lot of action. Because I've had moments when there really is not a whole lot of action. It's really quiet, really still for long periods. And I can't say, I can almost say that it got noisier in those moments in my mind. More chit chat, like internal chit chat, and it just felt noisier even. And I was thinking this morning, I was sitting outside at my new home and I was thinking, no wonder people try to stay busy. Because sometimes there's a lot less noise when you're busy. But I don't know if that's necessarily always the case either. I don't know. So it seems like a fun topic to talk about today. What do you think? What have you seen around this?
Well, going to what you say, a lot of people keep busy in order to distract themselves from the noise in their heads. And I've done that several times in my life, possibly for the first 40 of them, 40 plus. And it is interesting, isn't it, that sometimes we think that doing more in our life will mean that we get quieter on the inside. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So if it doesn't work all the time, then it can't be the prescription. It can't be the solution that a busy life has a quieter mind, or that a peace of mind has anything to do with doing.
Yeah.
I think you were also a little bit underplaying what you've been up to in the last month as well. So I'm gonna tell people listening some other things, if that's all right. Okay. So moved house, yes. Renovated the house that you're in right now. Started your own business, as you said. You didn't mention the long road trip, which had its own kind of, part to play in your life in the last few weeks and months.
Mm.
And that the business has just started, right? So you've got a property led from scratch, effectively. And you've got your first paying customers in right now.
Yeah.
Now, to me, watching from 3,000 miles away and listening and getting the odd message in between the time that we talk, there's a little bit of, wow, you're getting all that done. I see that as a huge feat.
Thanks. I found these moments where I recognize that there's a lack of balance in, like physical stillness and action lately, right? But, and many times in my life, I thought that action and stress and mental busyness was all wrapped up together. I really believed that, which of course, I think is pretty common, but of course, that makes you think, oh, I need to take some time off because you think that's why. When really, you and I know that our experience is always coming from our thinking about things. So this is a new time for me in what I'm seeing. And now all of a sudden things have kind of ramped up, right? And I know they're not related, but I find myself believing that every so often. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then it's gone, right? And then something really cool has happened where I'm flowing in this very full time, full of things to do and people and activity. And yet I'll remember things that I needed to remember right before I walked out the door. Or, I don't know, there seems to be this life energy that's handling things for me in a way that's absolutely spectacular. And I haven't taken the time really to sit with how many things happened in the last month and a half. This is funny too. I'll tell you a couple things. The previous owners had rented back for a bit, and they finally, when they moved out and had it cleaned and everything like that, there wasn't much up here upstairs where the living space is. And we needed to light a fire for some pictures. Had nothing over here, right? But everything up here is empty. But we just happened to walk upstairs and there's nothing in here except for a lighter. Just randomly, a lighter, right? And then the next day, the cleaning ladies came and they had like a little collection of things, and the owner took everything except for one thing. And the next day, I needed to shoot off a Father's Day card, and I needed to pick up this, and right. There was like 10 things that needed to happen. And in order for that to happen, I needed to head to the post office and mail this thing off, but I didn't have a stamp. And the only thing that she didn't take with her out of this entire pile that the cleaning ladies found was a roll of stamps. These things happened when, throughout the last 6 weeks, incredible, just the last thing I would remember was the one thing that I needed, and it would just occur to me to look in that direction. But we're talking about, I had so many things in my mind that it doesn't make sense for me to remember those things. Yeah, of course, I forgot stuff too, and I messed things up, and but there was just this flow to it that I haven't yet experienced in my life. And maybe it's remembering it's not on me while I'm doing a lot, which is very interesting. Who's the neat stuff?
I'd love to know. If it's not on you, what does that mean?
For most of my life, I really believe that if there were things that needed to be taken care of, that was on me. A lot of old stories about, well, you can't really depend on other people to, or whatever kind of stuff I made up along the way. But there's a flow of life that only recently I'm starting to get a sense of, that can be absolutely relied on 100%, that knows all the players. Timing. God, it's just a timing of everything. And it doesn't mean for a second that I don't do anything. Just do what it occurs to me to do in the moment. But I don't need to wrangle things and stress out and force things that feel like I'm, putting this square peg in the circle. That feeling. Yeah. There's just so much more flow to it, I think. When there's not this mental noise of, I gotta, it's on me. There's a ebb, action, and ebb and flow. That's pretty new for me.
You said something in that beautiful share just now about something 100% reliable. That's not on you. Say more.
think that, and this is pretty new for me, just throw my beliefs out there. Yeah, okay, let's do it. I think that there's an energy, like a life energy that we're all a part of, that everything is a part of. And this is new for me to talk about, so I'm sure I'm not going to say the right words, but you can call it whatever you want. And everybody has a different way of talking about it. But I feel like it's, I would just say something very simple, like an energy of life that makes up who we are. It feels very different from when our intellect is running the show.
Mm.
And I think that when we drop out of our intellect and out of the noise of all of that, it feels more like peace. Or fun, when, like we were talking about, fun, like a lightness. And then this space, this, I don't know, seriousness doesn't belong somehow. And I think that when we drop into that space, and maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not like the deepest part of that. It could even just be that you're just not moving it from your intellect.
Mm.
It could be as simple as that. We just get out of our heads, yeah?
Mm.
And just allow something else to take over, or just move from a quieter space, not from the intellect. But I feel like that way of living, when we're quiet up here, where all those coincidences happen, when the one thing that you need is sitting right there, or the person that you needed to call calls you. And I mean, the things that we kind of blow off a lot, right?
Mm.
That's just like coincidence. To me, that's all part of that flow of life.
Mm.
And it can range from, lighters being there to profound moments of deep peace. There's a range of things. I don't know. What do you hear in all of that?
A lot. A lot. With those amazing, some people may call them coincidences, and that's fine. The lighter and the stamps. And we've all got our versions of those, probably even in the last week or two. Or someone calling when we just thought of them.
Mm.
even if there's nothing to them, what's noticeable when we're quieter is that we notice them. And the noticing is just, I don't have to have it all together. There are things that happen. I kind of take care of lots of things. And to me, that's the worst case of what's going on. And it's still gorgeous. It's still gorgeous to notice the everyday miracles of, well, frankly, being alive and being aware of being alive. And if there's something else to it, that there's a grand scheme of, hey, Kate's going to need stamps. Let's get the cleaner to forget them. If there's a fabric behind that, amazing too. And what you also said about the whole energy of everything and everything that's alive and everything that isn't. Well, everything that isn't is in my words, because everything that exists, all the matter that exists, has an energy to it, and that's how it's perceived as a matter as opposed to just being nothing. It's only energy that's really bringing subatomic particles together into any kind of form. Is the same energy, and you were saying, hey, are you sick, Wyn? Well, no, my voice is a little weird today because 4 days ago, eating an almond bar thing, a piece of almond went down the wrong way in my throat, and I think I've scratched part of my vocal cords. But I don't have to worry about that, because that's going to heal. In the same way as, when we cut, it bleeds. And a part of that blood out is in fact cleaning the wound. And when it then dries up, that protects the wound while underneath the healing's going on. We don't have to think that. We don't have to do anything for that to be fixed. And in listening to you, it's just really a lovely reminder to know that there's less that we have to cognitively control and think ourselves into in order for us to enjoy life and for things to happen and for things to get done. They don't rely on the constant intellectual or intellectualization or cognitive overload of really thinking ourselves to solve tomorrow's problems, when what's always reliable is our ability to solve in real time, and our ability to adapt and bounce back. I think that's a phenomenal quality that I've constantly underestimated in me and everyone else as a human.
Love that.
It's a nice thing to remember, isn't it?
Yeah, there's something about when you start to see that, or even when you, I think for anybody who might listen to the podcast that hasn't had any experience of that, or at least doesn't think that they have. There's something about knowing that that is possible. And that, so much of life is forgetting and remembering and forgetting and remembering.
Yeah.
There is something in that it is nice to remember and okay to forget.
Yeah. And sometimes we just think that the only gig in town, the best thing of all, is to keep remembering. Well, there's beauty in forgetting as well, because then we're in life, and whatever life is, we're in the living of it. So an example I'm pretty sure I've said to you, and probably on one of these podcasts, is when I remember once going to Disneyland in Anaheim, Los Angeles. And the first ride we went on to was Peter Pan. And I'm there now enjoying the experience of being back in Disneyland for probably the first time in around 20 odd years. And me and my friend were on there, and she's having a great time because she just loves Disneyland and would go there probably at least once a week if she could and spend the entire day there. Which I was charmed by but didn't understand until I started going, and then went, okay, I get this. This is a really great escapism day. Anyway, cut to the chase, back to the Peter Pan ride. And the Peter Pan ride starts, and I'm looking up at the brackets on the ceiling where the rails are, where the cars are being moved, and I'm looking around the corners to the bits to see how the visual effects are made and what's behind it. So I'm pointing these out to my friend and saying, look how this works. Stop just looking how it works. Enjoy the ride. So there's beauty in understanding how things work. But I don't want to have a conversation with myself while I'm having the most amazing meal and enjoying the mouthful saying, well, this is a thought-created reality. My taste buds are sending electrical impulses to my brain, which is then sending me into pleasure. I don't want to have that. I just want to enjoy it. So there's equal beauty in forgetting as well as remembering. Because if all we did was remember how life works, then it would be like me keeping to look to see how Peter Pan ride works. And there's a lot less fun.
Yeah.
What it also, this is a metaphor that might now be too stretched, right? So I've never said it like this before, so let's see if this is just not a very good example. Knowing that how the Peter Pan ride works is really helpful, actually, to me enjoying it, because I actually saw it was really clever. As long as I'm not constantly thinking about, oh, look, here's how this bit works. Isn't that a really lovely rivet there that's making sure that we're safe? Yeah, I don't want to get into that level of detail. But there's something quite enjoyable about noticing now and again that how things work is working in our favor. Oh, look, stamps. Oh, look, I just breathed out.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, look, my fingernails grew. Again.
Yeah. And then back to life. Yeah.
And then back into falling for the amazing special effects of thought, mind, and consciousness working in amazing unison to have this incredible experience of life. And it doesn't always feel like that.
Mm.
So for anyone who's having a tough time, that wasn't meant to be a glib way of saying it, because I can really relate, well, we both can, to tough times. And yet when the perspective comes back on our life, not just being in it, it's possible to appreciate things. And then possible to be grateful without being grateful as an act or a thing to do. It's a wonderful byproduct. Anyway, that's Mr. Scratchy Voice off on a ramble.
Mm. Mm.
Well, thank you, Kate. This has been lovely as always.
Thanks, Wyn.
You've been listening to this week's episode of Under the Noise with me, Wyn Morgan, and Kate Roberts. And if there's anything, as always, if there's anything that you'd like us to talk about, then please drop us a line. Our contact details are here in the information where you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, Wyn.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have a topic or question that you'd like us to chat about, email Wyn or Kate at wyn@winning.co.uk and Kate at katerobertscoaching.com. Until then, enjoy what's possible under the noise.